Welcome, everyone. This is Joe Dager, the host of the Business 901 podcast. With me today is Ruud Janssen. He is a Switzerland-based entrepreneur that has been an innovator and game changer in the hospitality and meetings and event industry since 1994. You're showing your age there a little bit, Ruud. He is a founder of EventCanvas.org Foundation and Event Model Generation, an event design consulting and training firm aimed at creating a common language for meetings and events. Ruud, thanks for joining me and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Joe, for this initiative. I truly appreciate it.
Well, I think it's interesting. You raised really two great questions in my mind there, okay? And I just threw out my notes, okay? Because I think I'll go too long, okay? But the first question is it it's just as important setting boundaries or kind of around the event as it is exploring all these great things. Is that true?
If you don't put in restrictions up front, the restrictions you know of or that you need to know of from a specific perspective, right? So how much time do people want to spend at the event? You know, what can it actually cost, or what should it return, right, in revenue? If you don't have those variables nailed down, you could design anything, right? There's no frame around it. And when design is unframed, it's called art, right? And then it's in the eye of the beholder. So what is, you know, for people to be conscious about what stakeholders need, to isolate just the behaviors of entry behavior and exit behavior, because that's the only mechanism by which events create value. And then thinking about the boundary box, right, the frame within which you need to design. That's really the hardest work of the whole event design process. So it's actually not even about design yet. That's actually just stakeholder analysis, stakeholder alignment, and framing the problem. Once you've got that done, then you start prototyping different ways in which you could deliver that behavior change by creating multiple, what we call experience journeys and instructional designs, which is basically the programming of the event and the interactions that you program to happen during the stretch of the event. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, yes, definitely. It's not owning the event, it's trying to own the outcomes, right? And the jobs to be, you know, the job that the customer really needs done, what you're being hired for. You look at this inbound who you're appealing to and segment them by the jobs they're hiring you to do.
Yeah, so one of the core things to do first is to long list all those that have a stake in the event, potentially have a stake in the event, right? Because you need to have a solid understanding of who these people are. You know, let's maybe bring it back to, you know, to one of the events that we illustrate in the book, right? So there's an event that we described that's called the Federation of European Risk Management Associations, right? So imagine risk managers from large companies get together, you know, once every year or once every 2 years. It's a rhythm of once every 2 years to talk to each other as risk managers about what the risk profiles are of what their companies are going through and how that's changing. Now, each of these individuals are working more or less in isolation in each of their companies because they have a responsibility in each company, and they don't often get a chance to speak to other people in the same role in another company, right? Whether they're competitors or not doesn't really matter at this stage. Now, on the other hand, you have a group of other stakeholders, let's say the insurers, right, who are interested in mitigating risk and providing risk insurance to those companies, right? So there's a natural marketplace by supply and demand of risk and of insurance, right? Now, most of the time when these two parties sit around the table, it is to talk about the policies they need to close with each other, or it is about claims that they have. So usually there is a financial stake on the table when they sit around the table. And this event gives them a 4-day window to actually get to know each other and speak with each other and interact with each other without having the policy, the negotiations on the table, or without having the claims negotiations on the table, but just having shop talk about what's going on in risk management across Europe, right? So to bring it back to your point, when you're looking at, you know, let's leave behavior change on the fringes for a minute and focus on the jobs to be done. Each of these risk managers has a certain number of jobs to be done, right? They have a number of basic needs. So the risk managers come in, and every risk manager in each company has a basic need, right? They want to belong to a community of like-minded other risk managers that have the same profile, the same role in other companies. They also have maybe a social need of wanting to interact with their vendors without having a claim or a or a tender procedure going on. They may also have a functional need to know exactly what's going on in the European risk management arena, so that they're best informed to go back to their companies. So each of these risk managers has a specific set of jobs to be done. Now they could go and travel to all the other members across the 27 countries and talk to them one by one and spend 4 months on the road to get up to speed. Or they could go to the one event where all these people are together and spend 4 days doing that much more effectively. So the event gets those jobs done. They commit 4 days of their time, full time, to spend it over there. And the promise is that they now are fully informed, have leveled with all the different vendors and seen what's going on in the industry, and are up to par on what's going on and what others think of subjects that they're dealing with as well. And it sounds very logical, but what we notice is that you need to peel that onion back, for all these stakeholders very specifically. And then when we design an event, when you select which stakeholders to design for, because sometimes events can have like 16 or 26 different stakeholders, right? Now you can't design for 28 different stakes at the same time. That's just, mentally impossible. We always try to reduce it to usually, the minimum is 2, but sometimes you have 4 or 6 different stakeholders. And what you do is you look at which stakeholders have high power and high interest in this specific event. So these are the stakeholders you need to delight. Those are the ones we actually very specifically analyze through empathy mapping and determine what is their entry and what is their exit behavior. And then we design just for that one stake using the event canvas. And then we go to the second stakeholder, to the third one. And you have these 3 or 4 perspectives layered one on top of the other, which you then need to combine. And the combination of those restrictions creates the design frame of your event. So it's a very analytical process. It's almost very linear in the beginning. Empathizing is not, most people think it's nothing you need too much instruction for, but it is very draining on, when a team has to empathize with somebody else, it takes a lot of, effort in your brain. But once you're done with that, and once you frame the problem, we usually step away from it for a while. We go do something completely different. And then the next day you come back and you look at the frame. And meantime, you've thought about all sorts of ideas of what you could be doing with the event. We park those in idea quarantine. And then we go back to our frame and take the ideas one by one and figure out what are the prototypes of this event design that could work to change that behavior from A to B for those different stakeholders, right? And usually you come up with 3, 4, or 5 different event designs, different prototypes. And you then look at, which one is going to do this most effectively. And then what you're doing is you're basically having a strategic conversation first amongst the team themselves, and then you pull out one of those prototypes which you think is going to work best for this very next event. And usually the other prototypes you came up with, you can shelve and put in the freezer and defrost them at a later time, because there's never any bad designs. It's just the wrong time for that design to happen. And so the process is, it's a very good, let's say, team building exercise to get everybody on the same page. And very often we've developed a formula to say, before you start executing an event, spend at least 1% of the total event time thinking about the event design using this process. Example, if you have 100 people going to an 8-hour event, be 800 man hours spent at the event, you would want to spend 1% of that time. Yeah. So you want to spend 8 hours thinking deeply about the event design, analyzing the stakes of these different people with a group of people. And let's say there would be 2 of us on that team or 4 of us on that team. You could say 8 hours divided by 4. So if we both spend 2 hours thinking about the time of 800 hours of our participants' time in that event, that's what we owe to ourselves to design an event properly.
I don't think that sounds like very much, actually. I could go on and on. Love the material. Okay, enjoy it tremendously. Tell someone where they can go to learn more, connect up with you, find the book.
Excellent. So it's very simple. EventCanvas.org is where you will find everything. There's a gallery of event designs as examples. You'll see the book there that you can download the first 100 pages for free. And you can also order the book if you like those first 100 pages. The book comes with a whole batch of online resources that you can use as well with your team, that you can print out, different posters and additional materials, diagnostic tools. We deliver training, so you'll find that on the site as well. There's a certificate in event design program we do as an in-company or at universities like the University of Amsterdam or San Diego State University. We speak and engage with teams in both open trainings and in company things across the world. So you'll see a listing there of where we're hanging out. And if we're in your neck of the woods, give us a shout. Or if we're not, then bring us over or reach out to us online. It's either Rolf Visse, Dennis Laier, or myself, Ruud Janssen. Reach any of the three of us. We're a very small, agile group of people.
This podcast will be available in the Business Design 101 iTunes Store and the Business Design 101 blog site, and I encourage you to take a look at the EventCanvas. Okay, thank you very much, Ruud.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, everyone, for listening.